picking up on the north shore of the Cogru River, and down below it's a fine-grained sand with granular peat and interior. We need to be a bit closer, Bob. We've got about a 3-meter eroding tundra cliff, no real beach at the base, and going up to about 4 meters, no real beach at the base. Go on. There we go. I was just panning in for that little bit, so I've got our 6-second rule in place. There's about a 4-meter wide, medium fine-grained sand beach at the base of an eroding sand tundra cliff. Cliff's about almost up to 10 meters high now in these places. Picture okay, Dougie? Everything okay?
That looks good.
Okay. And coming to the point, small cuspate foreland. We can start a turn now, Bob. Good. Looking back up the coast and down. Continuation of the same with a eroding sand tundra cliff with peat blocks that have slumped, and narrow beach now just stopped as elevation's lower. A draped tundra cliff, no beach as such really. A bit higher elevation, you can see the sand coming through at the base with a bit higher elevation. About a 10-meter eroding sand tundra cliff, and beach ends, and there's a lot of fallen tundra blocks on the beach. Okay, good altitude, good speed. Headland, no real beach, just some fallen tundra blocks at the base of the cliff. Beach here a little bit wider, lower elevation on the cliff, and it's just a draped tundra. Little embayment here, inundated lowland tundra and all the part. Medium fine-grained sand beach down, and back to the tundra cliff with a slumped carpet of peat on the face. No beach in front of it, just slumped tundra. Medium fine-grained sand beach across that tundra on the inside, some granular peat, as well as the medium to fine-grained sand. Eroding tundra, small cuspate foreland. Dark is granular peat in this area, and medium fine-grained sand beach, and going back to an eroding tundra cliff, predominantly sand, don't see a lot of ice in there, fallen peat blocks, and then a low peat only shoreline, a peat barrier in front of the lagoon, and then a lot of granular peat as well as medium fine-grained sand beach in front of that lagoon. Peat blocks all over the shoreline, and just a low beach of medium fine-grained sand with inundated lowland tundra behind. Very low, easily overwashed, a lot of peat blocks in place. How's the picture look good, Doug?
That looks wonderful.
Okay, this is just eroding peat. There's no beach, just eroding peat. And now slump peat over a tundra bluff and increasing elevation. Go to a 1 to 5 meter beach in front of about a 10-meter high eroding peat sand tundra bluff. Actively eroding. A little bit of wave action, wind action today as we're flying towards the west. Winds out of the west-southwest probably. And about a 10 to 15 meter high sand tundra bluff with about a 5 to 10 meter medium fine-grained sand beach at the base. Slumped tundra peat carpet over the beach face with a slightly lower backshore elevation. This is good altitude and speed, Bob, that's just great. And continuing same sand tundra cliff with peat blocks fallen down and a narrow beach, 5 meters or less at the base of medium fine-grained sand beach with peat blocks. Beach getting narrower through here, still quite a high cliff, 10, 12, maybe 15 meters in places, varies with the local topography. Six-second rule working. Sand tundra cliff with a 5 or so meter wide medium to fine-grained sand beach at the base. Pretty uniform through here, and round the corner a few peat blocks in the intertidal zone on the beach on the medium fine-grained sand beach, very narrow medium fine-grained sand beach through here. And uniform character, almost no beach as we go through this next section. It's good 15-meter high eroding sand, tundra cliff, less than a 5-meter medium fine-grained sand beach at the base with occasional peat, well, not occasional, quite a few peat blocks in there. And shoreline change coming up ahead, a flying spit with inundated lowland tundra in the back, behind, overwashed flying spit of medium fine-grained sand. There's a few tundra blocks in there, that's all. We can turn whenever you want. We got the end of this one quite well. Good, great stuff. So inundated lowland tundra in the back part. Some mud flats and then a medium fine-grained sand beach attached now with a continuation of the sand tundra cliff. It's about 10 to 15 meters high, varying height with a less, well, approximately 5-meter beach has gone narrower now of medium fine-grained sand with tundra blocks. Beach very narrow and absent here. Little small spit across the little estuary. The ND1 sign has gone, Dougie. Is that important? No beach here. You can see ice in the tundra in that one section. Virtually no beach at the base of this eroding tundra cliff. It's basically sand tundra. Not a lot of ice in there. Little peat shoreline.
If it's not there, it's fine. If it starts to flash, then it's trying to tell you something. But if it's not there, okay, you're fine.
It was flashing earlier. So 15-meter high sand, peat tundra cliff with pretty narrow beach at the base of medium fine-grained sand with peat blocks on the beach itself. Pretty uniform through this section, and coming up to another headland. Beach, a little bit of a beach here, cuspate foreland, and turn when you're ready. Medium fine-grained sand beach. With some, a little bit of granular peat. The dark line in the mid-frame is granular peat. And back to the tundra bluff sand with peat on the surface and some slumped down, elevations varying, getting a little bit lower now through here. About a 5 to 10 meter sand, medium fine-grained sand beach. And a lot of draped tundra peat. And tundra peat blocks on the base of the cliff, beach very narrow, 5 meters or less, cliff height varying up to about 15 meters in places. Fairly uniform shore type, in fact exceedingly uniform. And a lot of peat blocks on the entire beach has pretty much disappeared now. Comes and goes. Just as the elevation of the back shore cliff varies depending on local topography. Getting a little bit lower now, less than 10 meters, about 8 meters on this corner. A couple of little barrier sections of medium fine-grained. There's some eroding peat between the two. Medium fine-grained sands with the peat blocks and lower backshore cliffs. Draped peat over the tundra face, low beach. Medium fine-grained sand and eroding peat shoreline, draped carpet of tundra over the bluff face. Get up to about 10-15 meter bluff through here, narrow beach, approximately 5 meters wide, medium fine-grained sand beach at the base with tundra blocks. Next headland. This whole river is a series of coalesced tundra lakes, and cuspate foreland here with dark color again is granular peat just at the swash line, and actually in the swash zone being reworked actively right now by waves at the present time. Tundra cliff is peat and sand, 10-15 meters high. There's a approximately 5 meter wide medium fine-grained sand beach at the base with scattered tundra blocks. Elevation's up a little bit, 15 or so meters. A little bit of ice foot still present, being undercut by the waves through this section. Just a little fine-grained sand beach across there. A lot of peat, a uniform character. Flying spit coming off underneath us. Medium fine-grained sand beach with some granules. Got a few granules on the surface. The dark colouring is granular peat. Basically medium fine-grained sand, though, there's not a coarse fraction in there. And low draped peat on the tundra cliffs. Height varies quite a bit, a very narrow beach at the base. Less than 5 meters to absent with scattered tundra blocks. And ice foot or snow here, which was on the ice foot, still hasn't melted out, been eroded by thermal action of the waves here today. But character is basically the same with a sand tundra cliff with surface peat that's draped down over or in blocks in the intertidal zone. The intertidal zone being medium fine-grained sand beach, generally no more than 5 meters wide through most of this area. Uniform shore type. Cliffs are a little bit high here, maybe more than 15 meters, up to 20 in a few places. Obviously highly variable depending on local topography and the micro topography of the pattern ground in the back shore. Still medium fine-grained sand with individual peat blocks fallen down from the cliff. Medium fine-grained. There's a few granules and pebbles in that one little cove here. There's a scattering of them, but from environmental viewpoint, sensitivity viewpoint, basically medium fine-grained sand. There's just a few lag deposits of granules and small pebbles in a few locations, but they're not a dominant feature at all. Just an occasional lag layer on the surface. Just starting to see them more here in the inner part of the bay than on the outer part. So it's now low relief and into a beach with some tundra outcropping in the on the shoreline, but it's medium fine-grained sand with a few granules and pebbles on the high water ridge, giving that light colour that's going through frame is that slightly coarser fractions of granules and pebbles. Medium fine-grained sand beach lagoon is inundated lowland tundra. Peat outcropping at the waterline, consolidated peat outcropping at the waterline. Little inlet there with the whole lagoon is inundated lowland tundra. Small backshore cliff less than a meter coming out to a cuspate foreland. Dark material at the waterline is granular peat material. There's a little peat mud platform at the end right there going in through frame. Peat, black peat on the far side. Granular peat on the waterline, otherwise it's resting on medium fine-grained sand beach. A low tundra peat here. There's no beach below, no beach. It's just tundra. Just a tundra edge. Just a tundra edge with a draped carpet over the area. Peat shoreline, medium fine-grained sand beach going through draped peat. Peat carpet, little small bay of medium fine-grained sand beaches. Again, medium fine-grained sand beach, a couple of caribou trotting away over there. Just variation between. It's a very low shoreline, very low indeed, less than a meter. This is basically peat and eroding peat shoreline. Really not much sediment to speak of here. Basically eroding peat. And yeah, it's very clearly eroding peat through here. Bit of mud and peat. Mud and peat, I'd basically call it eroding peat shoreline. And then there's a beach of granular peat, and now eroding peat.
This is pretty well the head of the bay here.
Okay, well it's pretty low energy down in here, that's for sure. It's mainly eroding peat, resting on mud, and the back shore, you can see, is all inundated lowland tundra. There's a very large embayment. We're not going to go in there. We're looking at the back, got an ND1 flashing sign. Inundated lowland tundra through the whole back shore area as far as is visible. Peat at the shoreline, peat resting on mud, and little mud flats in here, peat resting on mud. Peat shoreline now. Low back shore, about a meter high, peat draped over the low cliff. and coming up to inundated lowland tundra through the entire area. Bob, could you circle to the right if you don't mind? It's a little, it helps on these situations where we get into a little box like that. See the inundated lowland tundra in the back shore, and that's good. Yeah, just follow around to the right.
Okay, and follow the coast some more?
Yes, to the, yeah, we'll go back eastwards. We'll get all of this done if we can. It'll, because we're right in the margins of fuel in the middle here. That's a granular peat shoreline, inundated lowland tundra, with peat at the shoreline resting on mud, predominantly peat. The lower part of the tidal zone's got mud, and low draped peat, no, very narrow beach, a meter or so of medium fine grained sands through this entire area. The peat is about a meter high, simply a peat shoreline with occasional patches of medium fine grained sand. Peat shoreline a bit higher, a couple of 3 meters now, 4 meters at the most. Granular peat at the waterline, granular peat beach, rest, and then at the end is medium fine grained sands. And then we've got a little bit higher relief, about a meter or so. Very good, that's great. About a meter or so of backshore peat, and peat in the intertidal zone resting on medium fine grained sands. So low peat draped carpet, less than a meter high, some debris in there. Little medium fine grained sand beaches here and there, mixed in with the peat, but basically the peat dominated shoreline. Peat at the waterline, narrow beach of medium fine grained sand, peat shoreline, a lot of blocks, and the subtitle is mud and peat. Peat shoreline with a little bit of sand, medium fine grained sand, little inlet, little estuary there. Peat at the shoreline, pretty much dominated by peat throughout this area. Both granular peat is going through frame right now, mud edge shoreline. Peat's been, and mud and with peat resting on the surface. Peat, granular peat beach going through. Mud, peat. Inundated lowland tundra shoreline. Inundated lowland tundra through this next little section. Inundated lowland tundra. They're back to a low 1-2 meter high peat cliff, with pockets of sand, medium fine grained sand, and a narrow beach at the base there. Cliffs getting high, 5-6 meters, 8 meters. Not much beach at the base, mainly slump tundra blocks. Little beach here, the elevation's lower. Peat shoreline, little beach of sand, medium fine grained sands through here. Predominantly peat shoreline, just a low eroding peat shoreline, less than a meter high. Little pockets of medium fine grained sand. Peat shoreline, some medium fine grained sand sitting on top of the peat through here. Draped peat, increasing elevation. Peat sand tundra cliff with about a 5 meter wide medium fine grained sand beach at the base. Slump tundra blocks on the intertidal zone. Lower elevation getting to be just a peat shoreline. Peat shoreline through there. Granular peat forming the beach, giving way to a medium fine grained sand beach at the end. Medium fine grained sand beach, then peat shoreline, about a meter or so less, and there's a medium fine grained sand beach, less than 5 meters, low backshore tundra cliff, medium fine grained sand beach, tundra at the shoreline, already tundra at the shoreline, medium fine grained sand beach, tundra at the shore, tundra blocks, backshore relief 4-5 meters. And looking back, tundra bluff, and then a beach, then, or medium fine grained sand beach at the head there. Tundra cliffs, that's good, we're doing fine. Tundra cliff in the back shore, 4-5 meters high, increasing to about 10 maybe through there. And see a bit of ice in this one. Narrow beach of medium fine grained sands, about 5 meters or so wide with slump peat blocks, getting a bit wider and more continuous, now disappearing. Not much here at all, intermittent now is a little bit through this area. Varying width of beach and varying backshore tundra cliff height. Got a big bay coming up in here, Dougie?
Yep.
Okay. and slump peat on the medium fine grain sands in the intertidal zone. I think we'll better take a swing into this one. Lower relief now, a couple of 3 meters, draped carpet over the bluff face, turning into this bay, draped tundra carpet. Not much of a beach in front of the thing until we get to center frame now. A little bit of beach. Turning south and now into the west, heading west. Coming around the corner is about a 4 meter bluff here. Peat draped over the bluff face. Granular peat, medium fine grain sands. Now medium fine grain sands where present. Quite a lot of tundra blocks resting on the intertidal beach. Narrow beach, intermittent beach. Peat accumulation on the inner part, medium fine grain sand beach on the outer hook. And then in the bay cliff with no beach ready to speak of. And this section is basically inundated lowland tundra going through frame. Not polygonal tundra, it's been mapped as salt marsh by others. Not really a salt marsh, it's just ground low vegetation. And back to the little cliff, increasing now cliff heights, 4 or 5 meters, not much beach at the base, medium fine grain sands with tundra blocks. Coming around to the head of the bay, turning south, same cliff, sand peat cliff with narrow beach. Now again, drowned was this so-called salt marsh. Drowned tundra, a little peat scarp at the high water mark, continuing this drowned vegetated area through center frame at the head of the bay, coming to the southeast west corner of the bay. This is now drowned inundated tundra, quite clearly see the background. Drowned inundated tundra, peat at the waterline, there's peat at the waterline. Drowned inundated tundra. That's good. Another turn to the right, Bob, and we'll pick it up as we scoot around. That's good. So turning around in the head of this secondary bay. Okay, very good. Peat at the shoreline, granular peat. See some of the lines of wood debris and vegetated, not the drowned inland tundra, vegetated shoreline and peat at the waterline. Uniform now, we're coming back to the entrance to the bay, looking ahead. You can make your turn on the point here, Bob. Peat at the shoreline, granular peat's dark line in center frame. It's a good job we haven't got a pilot called Pete, isn't it? About a meter or so high of tundra bluff, a little estuary there, and tundra, medium fine grain sand beach. Now lacking the beach, back in another beach, tundra cliff about 4 meters high, medium fine grain sand beach, draped tundra over the bluff, little estuary in here, medium fine grain sand flying spit up to the beach, medium fine grain sands with occasional tundra blocks, varying backshore relief of the tundra cliff, continuous medium fine grain sand beach, and lower elevation now, no back tundra cliff. Dark material in here is peat, drowned vegetation in the back shore, and medium fine grain sands on the beach. Not seeing that coarse lag that we saw in some parts of the north shore there. Peat blocks in the intertidal zone. Get a general view of this. Peat at the shoreline now, back to the combination of backshore sand peat with peat blocks on medium fine grain sand in the intertidal zone. Narrowing beach, not much of a beach through here, less than 5 meters in most sections. Backshore relief, 5 meters. Can see this is pretty. This is an ice-rich, peat ice-rich tundra cliff. Now back low and then back up again, increasing elevation again. Continuation of the tundra cliff, eroding tundra cliff, ice-rich with peat and intermittent sand beaches at the base, less than 5 meters wide. At slightly higher elevation. Now more sand. We go away from the ice rich back into the sand. Little embayment coming in estuary here. Medium fine grain sand beach spits the entrance. And back to low tundra, sandy tundra cliff. Peat draped carpet over the beach, over the cliff face. And then an intermittent beach of medium fine grain sand. slightly higher elevation, but continuing same shoreline type, medium fine grain sand beach in the lower intertidal zone. Now draped peat, just peat, very little sediment through this one section. Higher relief, little more continuity of the sand in the base of the cliff, sandy cliff through this area. Continuous beach, less than 10 meters wide, medium fine grain sands with occasional peat blocks. Lower elevation now, less than 5 meters, continuous sand beach with peat blocks in the intertidal zone in frame there on that little foreland. And beach peters out here, narrow, less than 5 meters where present, backshore relief, less than 5 meters and lower elevation, small beach. We don't need to go into this one, a continuous beach around the headland looking in the little embankment here, medium fine grain sand beach over. You can turn left here, and the entire inner part is drowned lowland tundra, sand on the entrance in center frame, and then continuous sand beach out a little spit, fine spit, and then sand tundra cliff here with fallen peat blocks. And this is one of these little platforms of peat and mud, a lot of the peat been stripped off, little mud peat platform, and then back to tundra cliffs with a continuous sand beach at the base of the cliff. Foreland here with a little flying hook with dark peat, granular peat around the corner, 10 meter high, eroding sand peat, tundra cliff, almost no beach at the base of that, a little bit of sediment, medium fine grain sand and lower relief. Little drowned tundra with a peat mud platform. Beach here of sand, medium sands, little granules on the surface in that, maybe some small pebbles. And the same in there, definitely, no, medium sand, fine grain sand. The tundra cliff through here is low, now increasing. A little bit of a beach. Tundra shoreline. Not much of a beach, and now the beach is appearing. Granular black peat, dark brown peat around the headland. The beach peters out around the headland, so we've got a 10 meter high ice-rich peat tundra cliff with a beach at the base of medium fine grain sands and peat blocks. Slightly higher elevation, continuous beach, peat blocks on the medium to fine grain sands below. Quite uniform through this one section. And uniform, bit lower relief now, draped peat over the bluff. High relief is here, the ice-rich section, now back to sand with a continuous beach below. Medium fine grain sands, just a little bit wider through here. Quite a wide beach, medium fine grain sands, plus some debris and peat blocks. A little section of peat, granular peat shoreline, and a lot of peat in the one peat section going through here. In front of that estuary, back to the sediment, medium fine grain sand with peat in the back shore. Low peat, low tundra cliff, about a meter or so high. We're going to cut it off at this headland, Dougie.
You can, if we have enough fuel, it would be nice to do a loop around the Eskimo Islands out there.
Okay. Can we do that, Bob?
Yeah, I think that'll be just about right. Then it'll be time to head for Wirral.
Okay. Continuous sand beach through this area. There's a little barrier beach, medium fine grain sand, a low eroding tundra bluff in the back shore. Peat blocks here and there. We can do the south shore of the Eskimo Islands, Doug. Continuous medium fine grain sand beach with eroding tundra bluff in the back shore.
Oh, you got timing, just take a loop right around.
Okay, whatever. Continuous medium fine grain sand beach, eroding back shore tundra. Low section here. Medium fine grain sand beach with blocks of tundra peat. Same here, not seeing any course at all. Back shore cliff about 5 meters high, draped.
That's good, you can head right out to the islands now if you want.
Okay, we'll go to the islands right now, cutting off. And recording now with a medium fine grain sand beach with some granules on the surface, lag granules deposit, giving that little fine lighter color texture. And this south shore's medium fine grain sand beach with scattered pebbles in the upper intertidal zone. Back shore's eroding sand tundra cliff with slump tundra blocks and granular peat material, pretty uniform. Medium fine grain sand beach with surface veneer of granules and pebble lag. High back shore cliff of eroding sand tundra with peat bogs that have slumped down. Pretty uniform through here. And coming to the west end of the island, there's a shoal bar, extends off left. Okay, that's enough. You can turn right now, mate. Little cuspate foreland, medium fine grained sands. Upper right frame is granular peats, and there's a lag on the interior part of granules and pebbles, and the sort of pinky white at the base of the cliff is that granule lag layer, but it's otherwise medium fine grained sand beach, ice rich tundra cliff on this side. See the ice in the cliff quite clearly eroding down, giving some mud. It's quite high, 10 to 12 meters. Medium fine grained sand beach in the intertidal zone with occasional lag of pebble cobble, of granule pebble. Ice rich peat tundra cliff in the back shore undergoing thermal erosion. And it's about 10 to 12 meters high, ice visible in the outer part of the cliff. And narrow beach narrowing, a bit of ice but still left here. Medium fine grained sand beach. Medium fine grained sand beach, and we can go in a straight line here, Bob.
Yeah, let's cut over to the next island.
And the flying spit on this end here, medium fine grained sand beach. And at the end there, coming into frame, just the dark coloration is granular peat. And we'll stay running as we go over to the eastern of the two islands. Coming into frame, medium fine grained sand beach on this flying spit. And ice-rich tundra cliff, peat. Narrow beach at the base, medium fine-grained sand beach, about 10 meters wide in most places. Ice-rich tundra cliff with slumped peat blocks in the upper intertidal zone. Not seeing any coarse granular material in this one. A little bit lower in this middle section, 10 meters high. A bit more sandy as well. Beach of medium fine-grained sands, no coarse lag visible on this one. Now sandy backshore cliff. And slumped a little bit here and there. Peat in the upper intertidal zone, sand, medium fine-grained sand beach. Coming up to the foreland, and just ice push ridges. Those are just ice push ridges on the medium fine-grained sand beach. Backshore tundra cliff of sand, narrow beach. A few granules and small pebbles visible in this medium fine-grained sand beach, and the cliff elevation lowering down, a bit of peats in the back shore. Dark coloured material on the upper part is all peat, resting on a medium fine-grained sand beach. And sort of mud flats in this little lagoon here, and some vegetation on the far shoreline. Medium fine-grained sand beach, black going through frame is granular peat, medium fine-grained sand beach. Medium fine-grained sand beach now starting the tundra cliff, which is a sand tundra cliff. I think a little foreland through here of medium fine-grained sands. Dark going through frame is granular peat, and into the cliff section of sand, eroding tundra cliff, medium fine-grained sand beach at the base. Sand eroding tundra cliff, few peat blocks have fallen down. Sand eroding, a sandy eroding tundra bluff with a medium fine-grained sand beach at the base. Medium fine-grained sand beach with occasional tundra blocks, and a backshore of a sandy tundra cliff with a little peat granular going out of flame behind a little hook, and the cuspate foreland here. Medium fine-grained sand with a little bit of tundra, with a little granular peat, and then tundra cliff on this western end of the island with a continuous medium fine-grained sand beach at the base, no coarse lag material visible. And we have completed the circuit of these two islands. Turning off.